Okay, so I have two articles for you today. And the first one is about immigration. And this is from the local Spectrum News in Texas. I think it's specific to El Paso. Anyway, third migrant dies at El Paso Detention Center. That doesn't sound great. I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments from people cheering it on because, compassion is dead. A third migrant has died at an El Paso detention camp as an investigation into another immigrant's death earlier this month has brought national attention to the facility. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement reported that 36-year-old Victor Manuel Diaz died in ICE custody on January 14th at Camp East Montana, an immigration detention center at the Fort Bliss military base in El Paso. According to ICE, contract security staff found Diaz unresponsive in his room, and they notified medical staff on site at around 3:35 p.m. The medical team arrived at 3:45 p.m., and Diaz was pronounced dead at 4:09 p.m. The official cause of death is under investigation, but ICE said he died of a presumed suicide. And, under normal circumstances, I would believe that. But unfortunately, we live under administration where you can't believe shit. Maybe it was a suicide. I mean, you've heard horror stories of what goes on in these detention centers, so it's possible. But these are also the same people who are acting like thugs in Minneapolis, so Diaz was arrested by ICE officers on January 6th in Minneapolis for an immigration violation. ICE records claim Diaz illegally entered the U.S. on March 26, 2024, and an immigration judge ordered his removal on August 26, 2025. On January 12th, ICE processed him as a final order of removal and detained him pending removal from the United States, ICE said in a news release. This latest death comes after another migrant died at Camp East Montana on January 3rd. ICE officials reported on January 9th that 55-year-old Geraldo Lunas Campos died after experiencing medical distress. But recent reporting from the Washington Post and the Associated Press found that the El Paso County Office of the Medical Examiner was likely to classify Lunas Campos' death a homicide. Again, not great. Now, that's, if you might say, oh, well, if you have the worst of the worst, inmates will turn on each other. But again, considering this administration and the status of these camps, you cannot assume that it was another detainee. It could easily have been the ICE officers themselves. We don't know. The Department of Homeland Security released a statement after the reports claiming that Lunas Campos was attempting to take his life and during the struggle with officers stopped breathing and lost consciousness. Okay, let me get this straight. He was trying to commit suicide, and so the officers struggled with him in such a way that he stopped breathing and lost consciousness. So, you're claiming assisted suicide? Seriously, are there actually people out there? Oh, yeah, actually there will be people out there who will accept that as fact. Both the Washington Post and the Associated Press interviewed an eyewitness at the facility who claims that Lunas Campos died after he was handcuffed, tackled by guards, and placed in a chokehold until he lost consciousness. Now that I can believe. There was even an article by ProPublica mentioning that ICE still uses chokeholds. So, yeah, I can believe that. U.S. Representative Veronica Escobar, a Democrat from El Paso, who has been a vocal critic of the facility, reiterated her calls for Camp East Montana to be shut down. 2 deaths in 1 month means conditions are worsening, she said in a post on X. Camp East Montana must be shut down immediately. Escobar also accused the facility of focusing on profits instead of meeting basic standards. Of course they don't care about standards. That would mean that they see these people as humans. And it's pretty obvious they don't. So, why would they need to meet basic standards if they don't even see these people as human? Anyway, Escobar has previously said that she was concerned that there weren't enough trained ICE personnel at the facility. She toured the $1.24 billion facility multiple times last year that, as of December, houses over 3,000 migrants. It's the largest facility of its kind in the U.S., and it has been open since August. I would love to know what the actual capacity is supposed to be. Because, yes, housing 3,000 migrants sounds like a lot, and I would not doubt that it's overcapacity, but we don't know. We don't know if that's overcapacity, but considering that this is the 3rd death, probably part of it. Anyway, that is the end of that article. So, the next article I have is from Euronews, and it's about Trump and how absolutely unhinged he is, which I know does not narrow things at all. But the latest bit of just absolute bonkers, Trump tells Norway's PM he has no obligation to think purely of peace after Nobel snub. So basically, he was just trying to be a good little boy and bring about peace for the world because he wanted to be recognized and get a pat on the head and a gold star. And since he didn't get that, he's like, fuck you, I'm going to burn the world down. Awesome. Yeah, that's a totally mentally stable person. All right. U.S. President Donald Trump told Norway's Prime Minister he no longer needed to think purely of peace after failing to win the Nobel Peace Prize in a message published on Monday. Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, Trump said in a message to Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre. Now, just in case we have people here who aren't familiar with the Nobel Prize, that is awarded by a committee, not by the government of Norway. I hope you understand this. Not that should, make it any different if it was the government. Regardless of who awards the Peace Prize, which again is a committee that is based in Norway, the fact that Trump decides to have a temper tantrum is still completely bonkers. Okay. It is unclear why Trump decided to send a message to Støre as the Peace Prize is decided by the Norwegian Nobel Committee and not the government. Because Trump is a moron. And he doesn't understand that it's not by the Norwegian government. He just knows that you go to Oslo for the ceremony. So he knows that Oslo is the capital and assumes that that must mean that the government is involved. Because obviously there are no other organizations in Oslo besides the government. What the hell? In a written comment, Sturr underlined that the Nobel Peace Prize was not awarded by the Norwegian government. I have clearly explained, including to President Trump, what is well known. The prize is awarded by an independent Nobel committee, Sturr said. Trump has long coveted the annual Peace Prize, and last week, Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, gifted her Nobel Peace Prize medal to him at the White House. And considering Trump is bent out of shape about not winning the Nobel, I'm thinking he does grasp that even though she gave him the medal, that he's not considered the winner. That he has the medal, but she has the prize. So maybe a glimmer of lucidity, but not enough to prevent him from going batshit in other ways. Machado was awarded the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize for her leadership of Venezuela's opposition movement amid a crackdown by President Nicolas Maduro, most notably in the much-maligned 2023 presidential election. Machado's gesture to Trump followed a series of developments in Venezuela after a blitz U.S. military raid captured Maduro and his wife and brought them to New York to stand trial on drug trafficking charges 2 weeks ago. During the visit, Machado gave Trump her Nobel medal as a recognition for his unique commitment to our freedom, she told reporters outside the U.S. Capitol. She's really kissing his ass. Trump confirmed on social media that Machado had left the medal for him to keep and said it was an honor to meet her. And I also read that he never used her name, which people are questioning whether it's because he couldn't remember her name. Which I guess it's better than him calling her something else, I guess. She is a wonderful woman who has been through so much. Maria presented me with her Nobel Peace Prize for the work I have done. Okay? Trump said in a post, such a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. Thank you, Maria. All right, so wherever I read that he forgot her name, he didn't. Unless he forgot it at some other point, which is possible. Ahead of Machado's visit to Washington, the Norwegian Nobel Institute, organizers of the Nobel Prize, said in a statement that a peace prize cannot be withdrawn, transferred, or shared once it has been announced. The Nobel Foundation statutes and Alfred Nobel's will, which dictate the merits awardees should have, state that the title of the winner belongs personally to the individual and cannot be legally shared or reassigned to another person. The medal or the associated diploma can be physically given, sold, or auctioned, but this does not confer the award's title on anyone else. Trump has often boasted about ending 8 wars, styling himself as the president of peace, and therefore deserving of the Nobel honor, but those claims have been exaggerated. The latest conflict he claims to have ended was 2 years of fighting between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. The other 7 are Israel and Iran, which that's its own thing, Pakistan and India, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Thailand and Cambodia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Serbia and Kosovo. I'm sorry. Is he stuck in the 90s? Serbia and Kosovo are not fighting. So, yeah, there is that. All right. But some of these conflicts lasted just days, and one, Egypt, Ethiopia, had no fighting to end, but rather involved long-standing issues of water sharing from the Nile River. There is that too. Ethiopia formally inaugurated the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD, last year. It sees the dam as a boon to its economy, but Egypt opposed its construction, arguing that it would reduce the country's share of Nile River waters. Trump recently told Fox News that one of the ongoing conflicts that has continued despite his claims to have stopped it, a simmering border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia, should actually count more than once. No, that's not how that works. But then again, he doesn't know how anything works, so that makes sense for him. I did put out 8 wars, 8 and a quarter, because, Thailand and Cambodia started going at it again. He told Sean Hannity last week. Wait, what? So, because one of the wars restarted, you have made peaceful at a quarter more wars, as opposed to subtracting a war? Do you know how math works? I'm seriously contemplating how it is this man can breathe unassisted. He is really that dumb. How is it he's able to breathe unassisted? How is it that he was able to be a mob boss for as long as he has? It's just astounding to me. But anyway, that is the end of that article. All right. So I believe that is all I have for this video. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.